YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
We do have breaking news from the world of entertainment. We have received word that music legend Ozzy Osbourne has died. Osbourne, as you know, pioneered heavy metal music with Black Sabbath before going on to have huge success in his own right. He was known for hits including Iron Man, Paranoid, War Pigs, Crazy Train, of course, and Bark at the Moon, both with the band and as a solo star. His death comes just weeks after reuniting with his Black Sabbath bandmates and performing a massive farewell concert for fans in his hometown of Birmingham, England. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2019, and in a statement, his family said that he was surrounded by love when he passed. Ozzy Osbourne was 76 years old.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Ozzy Osbourne, dead at the age of 76. And you won't hear any sympathy from me on the website here, just like you wouldn't hear any sympathy on YouTube or anywhere else where I would be posting this video normally. And thankfully with the website, I can express some things that I really want to say. Now, people out there say, that's cruel. Somebody here died, and we should all pray for the person who died. A lot of people often say when somebody close to them dies who was not a follower of Christ, that they hope that before death that they had found salvation through Christ, and I feel that way fully. But when it comes to these celebrities who have spent their entire lives indoctrinating young teenage boys into worshiping Satan, I don't feel any sympathy at all. In fact, this is just a great opportunity for these people to go where they wanted to go all along, to go and meet their maker in the pits of hell. So, adios, Ozzy, as Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at 76. Now, one of the things we should point out before I get into detail about who Ozzy Osbourne really is, because Ozzy Osbourne has played this Satanist on television, but then pretended that it was all part of a show. And I will prove to you 100% that it is not part of a show. I will show you the signs and the symbols, as I always have, and show you his connection directly to Aleister Crowley. As most of you probably know, his infamous song, Mr. Crowley, is written by Aleister Crowley. So I'll get into all that stuff later on. But some of the stuff that's out there is about Ozzy Osbourne and how a spotlight has been put on Parkinson's disease. And before we get into anything else, I'd like to point that out, because you're hearing more and more about celebrities who are getting Parkinson's disease. And let me point out what Kuru is. For those of you that don't know, Kuru is a rare and fatal neurodegenerative disease that was previously epidemic among the 4 people of Papua New Guinea. It is caused by prions, which are misfolded proteins that damage the brain. The disease is characterized by tremors, loss of coordination, and eventually inability to walk, eat, or speak. A lot of the same symptoms as Parkinson's disease. Kuru is primarily acquired through ritualistic cannibalism, where the consumption of infected brain tissue leads to transmission. A lot of these celebrities end up kicking the bucket because of Kuru, not because of Parkinson's disease, because they partake in ritualistic cannibalism. And we know that all of these celebrities are involved in harvesting and trafficking and consuming the flesh of young children. So you could tell me that that's just a conspiracy, that of all people, Ozzy Osbourne, who once bit a head off of a bat during one of his live concerts, who openly worships the devil, you tell me that it's a coincidence that he had a disease that's very similar to Kuru that they call Parkinson's. But let's get into some of the details here, because I want to play for you this clip first from Geraldo Rivera. They did a show about the Satanic Panic. And of course, they brought in Ozzy, and they brought in all of these people like Michael Aquino, all of the most disgusting, vile Satanists that you could find. And they sit on national TV, dressed like vampires, dressed like ghouls. And they sit there with a straight face and say, well, I might sing about the devil. I might have albums about selling my soul to Satan. I might even bite off the head of a bat, but I don't really worship the devil. And all the suckers in the audience take Ozzy Osbourne at his word, just like they took Michael Aquino. Well, I have a satanic church, Michael Aquino says, but that doesn't mean I worship the devil, the satanic temple, right? We see them every day. Oh, we're going to do after school Satan. Oh, we have our Baphomet session. We don't really worship the devil. And that's all it takes, apparently, to get these people out there in the audience to automatically dismiss these people as devil worship. Well, it's just part of the show, right? Yeah, I'm sure. Here's Ozzy Osbourne on an episode that featured McMartin and all the Satanism that's going on in America. Talk about how he gets a bad rap, how it's not fair that people stereotype him and judge him as a devil worshiper. And it's almost comical because I'll show you exactly who Ozzy Osbourne really is momentarily. But here he is lying through his teeth, just like the Freemasons lie and tell you that they don't worship Satan. And the Freemasons lie and don't tell you what they really actually do and practice inside of those lodges where they have fake windows because you're not allowed to look inside at the rituals they perform. They all lie, just like their father, the devil. Listen.
Let's go to London for a quick exchange with Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy, I'm glad you're on the program. I'll interview you in greater detail in a couple of minutes. The one thing I have to ask you now, though, is, of course, the vast majority of your fans and the fans of heavy metal music are not Satanists. But there is no doubt, at least not in our reporting, that that heavy metal music plays a role. Every single kid whose case we know about, who committed a violent act in Satan's name, was also into heavy metal music. What's your response to that, Oz?
Well, I don't really know. All I do is make music. You know, I don't sit down and purposely plan to freak everybody out. I mean, I always have played heavy metal music. I suppose when I was younger and I started writing songs, my world was kind of dark and dingy. You know, I came from a working class family who had nothing, no dough, no prospect of ever having much money, and so that's how I saw the world as a child. So, I mean, not all my songs are about Satanism.
Of course not.
In fact, if you
stand by, Ozzy, because I want to get to Sean Sellers, who's the youngest kid ever to go on death row. Ozzy,
yeah,
I know that your lyrics are less excessive than groups like Slayer or Venom or Iron Maiden or some of the others, but still, for some reason, maybe it's because you've been around for so long, I see tattoos of your name on some of these teenage devil worshippers' arms. Wherever I see devil graffiti and satanic graffiti, I see your name also. Do you feel a sense of responsibility, Oz?
The only responsibility I feel is the fact that I'm a true musician in what I play. I don't want to make anybody start doing all this devil worship crap, because that's not my intention. Although I have sang on a few songs about the devil, you know, that's about it. You know, I don't want anyone to harm themselves.
What
That's
about
not my
the
intention.
issue of responsibility? What about the whole thing about guilt? Do you feel responsible?
I don't feel guilty. I feel kind of persecuted by everybody because I'm not a bad guy. My intentions are not to harm anyone. In fact, it's directly the opposite. Like when people come to my concerts, I want them to have a good, fun evening out, you know. And it seems to me that a lot of people judge the book by the cover more. So they write things about me, well, they don't even know what they're talking about, you know.
So there's Ozzy lying with a straight face. And of course, a common person would see that and probably side with Ozzy Osbourne. They'd say, that's not fair that people are saying that because these are performers, right? They go on stage and they just do this stuff as a show, yet they influence so many young children out there and lead them away from God and lead them into worshiping Satan. As Geraldo, who is the scum of the earth, even pointed out, a lot of these people involved in satanic rituals, satanic murders back in the 80s, all had tattoos of Ozzy on their body. And a lot of his lyrics, of course, talked about human sacrifice and worshiping the devil. But we're supposed to believe that this is just an act, right? So let's start here. A couple years ago, there was this thing called COVID-19. Well, Ozzy Osbourne was featured in the Rolling Stone as thanking Satan because of devil worship. He was able to ward off COVID-19, right? But he's not a devil worshiper. He's just entertaining you, right? And of course, Ozzy knows what was really going on with COVID, as all these celebrities did and do, about how they needed to get a certain something in your body, which I'll show you momentarily. But let's start with the most obvious one, right? The all-seeing eye symbolism. We see it all day and all night with all these celebrities. Every one of them happens to have a picture where they're holding their hand up over their eye, or they're doing something like he's doing there, holding his glasses up over one eye, or being cute and holding a mask up, which is another Illuminati symbol. The many masks that these people wear because they lead dual lives. They lead a fake public life, but behind the curtain, these people are all involved in ritualistic cannibalism and human sacrifice. And what do we see dripping out of Ozzy's eye? What is that? Well, let's get a closer look at another photo. Oh, look, Ozzy just wanted to rub some black paint on his face. Because, of course, somebody said, hey, Ozzy, while you're taking this photo with an upside-down crucifix, as above, so below, can we also get you to take some black paint and smear it on your face? What? Why would I ever do that? Well, didn't you hear? It's the coolest thing to do, Ozzy. All right. That's what Ozzy said. That's what we're supposed to believe. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing here. Just like Billie Eilish with the black goo coming out of Billie Eilish's eyes, or Lady Barfbag and that video Disease, which was all about COVID-19 and nanotechnology and getting that black substance inside of people's bodies. We've seen Megan Fox do her pregnancy photo shoot covered in the black goo. All of these celebrities always showing you this black goo. But we're all conspiracy theorists because, of course, we all know about the connection to the black goo and graphene oxide and changing and transforming what it means to be a human. But when you point it out and you show all these celebrities laying in black goo, in black paint, you would think that maybe some people would wake up to it, just like you would think those pictures of Ozzy holding up a hand over his eye would wake people up when we see thousands of celebrities and collages doing the same exact thing. Here's Ozzy even holding up a pyramid over one of his eyes. Here he is doing the pyramid again in another magazine photo shoot, right? Well, is he a part of Jay-Z's Rockefeller? Oh, that wasn't around back then, right? What, is he just a big fan of the pyramid, the symbol? When he was growing up, his parents got him a lot of those toys where they could learn shapes, and the pyramid must have stood out to him, right? He said, I don't like rectangles. I don't like, I like circles, he probably said, because he likes to perform his ritual magic inside of them. But he said, I don't know about any of these other things. I like this triangle thing. I'm going to take pictures in magazines where millions of people see it, holding up the pyramid, right? Or is he pro-government? Is that what we're going to believe? Because the back of the dollar bill features the same pyramid. So maybe Ozzy's just saying that he's pro-government, right? What he's saying is that he's in the club, and he knows exactly what it means. That's why Ozzy has been seen countless times holding up a finger over his lip, right? This is the vow of silence, the vow of secrecy, which is why you heard Ozzy Osbourne on Geraldo flat out lie about who he worships and who he is, because they couldn't have a revolution on their hands. They couldn't have Christians unite and run these Satanists and these witches out of society like they've done in the past. No, they have to deceive them. And of course, we know how important the television and music became in brainwashing so many Christians and leading them to actually allow their children to follow people like Ozzy Osbourne, or in today's world, the Taylor Swifts, and then idol worship those people and then believe in the things that they believe in, because that's what this is. That's what social engineering is. So here's Ozzy doing the vow of silence. Of course, we've seen every celebrity over the years. This is probably the most common symbol other than the all-seeing eye. Even seeing Freddy Krueger, for crying out loud, doing it in some movie photo shoots. But that's probably, of course, a nod to Wes Craven. We see Michael Jackson doing it. We've seen every single celebrity and their mother holding up a finger over their lip, from Johnny Depp. You name them, they've done it. Rihanna even has it tattooed on her finger, same as Lindsay Lohan. All of them. And nobody says, what's the secret, right? Well, if you look at the Masonic teachings, they show you that exact photo of the vow of silence and how this oath that they take to one another, this vow that they take to one another, the vow of silence, is how they continue to get away with this even when they're doing it right in front of our faces, because the magic and the sorcery works on the minds of the masses somehow, some way. Here's another pose from Ozzy. You can see the hand on the chin. This is actually known as the Masonic penalty sign, where they hold up their hand over the chin. Usually it's a reference to somebody who has broken some of their oaths in secret society, in Freemasonry or any other sects of these secret societies, and has to pay a penalty, of course, for doing so. Here's Ozzy with his arms folded. He's wearing a pink shirt and a tutu, it looks like, in the photo on the left, and then, of course, doing the hands across his chest on the right. So this is just another common reference to Satan. This is Osiris risen from the OTO. You see Freemasons do it during their rituals right here. You've seen scumbags like Stephen King, who are some of the sickest people alive. You know, if Stephen King wrote his books, say 200 years ago, even 100 years ago, he would have been executed for the stuff that he wrote. His book, okay, the literal ending of the book, the novel, talks about children having an orgy with one another. Okay, so you think if somebody read that in the Little House on the Prairie days, that they'd allow this guy to be in their town, he would have been killed. He would have been arrested on the spot. But in today's world, that's art. And you know what's criminal in today's world? Well, people like me calling out witches and Satanists, of course. So, of course, we see Stephen King doing it. We've seen guys who have exposed from Jerry Seinfeld to Bette Midler to Robin Williams to Simon Cowell, who's been seen driving around on his Freemasonic jet ski that he has. Ashton Kutcher wearing the Freemason hat out in public, along with, of course, his Kabbalah bracelet. We've seen Taylor Swift doing the arms across its chest. We've seen Miley Cyrus, the virus, do it. Of course, the X, which represents the OTO, represents the coming Antichrist. Elon Musk has renamed his company X, even doing the symbol right there. We see Madonna wearing the all-seeing eye patch with the X on it. And of course, most importantly, we've seen Aleister Crowley use this symbol, right? Aleister Crowley. Wasn't that interesting that Ozzy Osbourne likes to claim that he is not a real devil worshiper, that's all part of the show? Yet he wrote a song called Mr. Crowley. Now, you think it's a conspiracy that he wrote a song to Mr. Crowley? You think that I'm making it up, that the song's about Aleister Crowley? Well, even if you ask the demonic artificial intelligence known as Google, they'll tell you Mr. Crowley's a song by Ozzy Osbourne, inspired by the British occultist Aleister Crowley. The song explores Crowley's life and reputation with lyrics referencing his occult practices and perceived connection to Satanism. It's not a perceived connection whatsoever. Aleister Crowley referred to himself as the Beast 666. He referred to himself as that. So if your neighbor referred to himself as the Beast 666 and he had a big 666 flag, I mean, wouldn't you say that he's a Satanist? Or would you say, oh, he's just having a good time? He's trolling all of us over. He's got 666 tattooed on his forehead, on his butt cheeks. But, you know, they're just trolling, right? I mean, how much more obvious can it be with these people? They just constantly deny their affiliation to the occult. And we could see it. I could show you it over and over. Look at the lyrics of the song, Mr. Crowley. What went on in your head, Mr. Crowley? Did you talk to the dead? Your lifestyle to me seems so tragic with the thrill of it all. You fooled all the people with magic. Yeah, you waited on Satan's call. And he's referencing it being tragic because of the way that Crowley died at the end. But these people worship Aleister Crowley and they follow his teachings. Mr. Charming, did you think you were pure, Mr. Alarming? In Nocturnal Report, uncovering things that were sacred, manifest on this earth, conceived in the eye of a secret, and they scattered the afterbirth. Mr. Crowley, won't you ride my white horse, referencing the book of Revelation, Mr. Crowley? It's symbolic, of course, right? Symbolic of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And saying, approaching a time that is classic, I hear that maiden's call, approaching a time that is drastic, standing with their backs to the wall. Was it polemically sent? I want to know what you meant. I want to know. You know, this isn't a love letter to Aleister Crowley or anything like that. He's talking about Mr. Crowley, his mailman, right? Is that what people are going to tell us? Oh, he doesn't worship the devil, but he only has a song specifically about Aleister Crowley, who not only referred to himself as the B666. Let me just read to you a couple of excerpts from his books. Aleister Crowley, let's take a little look at what he said about human sacrifice here, right? And make sure, you know, keep your stomach light, because this guy is one of the most revolting figures in human history yet. Jay-Z and the Beatles put Aleister Crowley on the cover of their album, but nobody calls these people out, right? That'd be like if I had a poster in my front yard of Jeffrey Dahmer. Don't you think somebody would like say something, call the police, say maybe I should go to see a psychiatrist, right? Well, they're wearing shirts with Crowley on it, and this is what Crowley says on bloody sacrifice. If you look close, he says, The animal should therefore be killed within the circle or the triangle, as the case may be, so that its energy cannot escape. An animal should be selected whose nature accords with that of the ceremony. Thus, by sacrificing a female lamb, one would not obtain any appreciate quantity of the fierce energy useful to a magician who is invoking Mars. In such a case, a ram would be more suitable, as this ram should be virgin. The whole potential of its original total energy should not have been diminished in any way. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. We're talking about murder, human sacrifice. And he wrote a song about it, but he's not a devil worshiper, right? I mean, it's incredible. He says, the book goes on to say, for evocations, it would be more convenient to place the blood of the victim in the triangle, the idea being that the spirit might obtain from the blood this subtle but physical substance, which was the quintessence of its life in such a manner as to enable it to take on a visible and tangible shape. I mean, these people are disgusting and sick. I shouldn't even really be reading to you, but I have to just point this out. This guy's got a song about Aleister Crowley. This is what Aleister Crowley's teaching these people who all follow him, who all wear his shirt walking down the streets of Hollywood Boulevard, right? And he goes on to say, those magicians who object to the use of blood have endeavored to replace it with incense, right? We see, right? How many Christians get indoctrinated with New Age? Ooh, get those incense, right? He says, for such a purpose, the incense of Abramelin, some douchebag, may be burnt in large quantities. Didney of Crete is also a valuable medium, whatever these freaks are. Both these incenses are very Catholic in their nature, and I suppose they're not referencing people, they're referencing certain types of incense. But either way, it's embarrassing, really. So they say both of these incenses are very Catholic in their nature and suitable for almost any materialization. But the bloody sacrifice, though more dangerous, is more efficacious, and for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best. So this guy's not a psychopathic devil worshiper who gets glorified in our world. They have CBS series on Aleister Crowley, which I've exposed in the past. Right, all these shows that glorify him as a magician, as an artist, right? Oh, he's just talking about murdering young boys, things that, like, if somebody on YouTube said that, they would get arrested for. But Crowley writes about it, then all these people wear a shirt, right? I mean, let's just continue on here because it's enough to pull your hair. We have Ozzy Osbourne speak of the devil, right? That's not satanic. He's got the fangs in his mouth, of course, paying homage to the vampire, which is really paying homage to the Jew. Now, I guess I could say that here on the website, but you never know. I'm not looking to get the website shut down either. But he's referencing the Synagogue of Satan because that's where vampirism comes from. Of course, you could watch my videos on that, Nosferatu, if you're new to all this and you really want to have your mind blown as to where this folklore of vampires came from. It's not a folklore at all. There's really this group of people who were targeting Christian babies and sucking their blood and killing them. Yeah. And they still walk around the earth today. In fact, you're not even allowed to ask questions about them or say anything about their big noses or their little hats, or you end up in prison in some countries. So let's move on. We have Black Sabbath. We sold our soul for rock and roll, right? But he's not a Satanist. He sold his soul to who? Did you sell it to Mr. Clean? Who'd you sell your soul to for rock and roll? And of course, you could see the S's in this album, which is one of his popular albums. Don't ask me how any of his songs are actually popular. They suck. Okay? I mean, the only one I could think of off the top of my head is Crazy Train, which is annoying as can be. But anyway, notice the S's in here? What do they look like? Lightning bolts. Now, did Kiss steal this from them? Did they steal this from AC/DC? What about David Bowie? How about Marilyn Manson? How come every band uses a lightning bolt? Well, because they're all referencing Lucifer. And music is a catalyst that they use to invoke spirits. They use this for demonic possession. And it sounds like a crazy thing, right, when you say it with music, but it's frequencies that they use. And the frequencies they play and the lyrics and the spells that they cast in their audience. So the lightning bolt's in the logo, and that's Luke again, chapter 10, verse 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. And here's even a recent picture of Ozzy before he bit the bucket, thankfully, even wearing a crown of thorns on his head. But he's not mocking our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But as the Bible tells us, God will not be mocked. And now that it seems, I mean, unless they send Ozzy to Israel or somewhere, but he looked like he was in pretty bad shape. If you've seen him recently, he's on stage, his last country, shaking from that kuru, shaking, couldn't even move. So, probably a good chance he just probably kicked the bucket at this point. Maybe tried to eat another kid and then there was too much to consume. But nonetheless, joking aside, which really I'm not joking, that's probably what really did happen. He's just wearing the crown of thorns here, you know, and got to wonder how God's going to feel knowing how many souls were led directly to Satan because of people like Ozzy Osbourne, because of people like Marilyn Manson. That's why I don't feel any sympathy for any of them, okay? That clip I played for you for Geraldo, that show was about exposing the McMartin preschool. And of course, Geraldo, like the scumbag that he is, and he's a real slime ball. Of course, he tried to play into it to his audience about Satanism, but then eventually, of course, dismissed it. Oh, the parents were trying to pay off or get a payday. Yeah, they all wanted to say that their kids got anally raped at school at 2 years old and go on the news and talk about it in a room because they wanted to get money from some broke, worn down preschool that wasn't even insured. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Everybody out there would do that to their 2-year-old and all get along. All the parents are in on it, right? Nobody was like, hey, I probably don't want to make something like that up. It's a little sick. Yeah, sure. You know, because the whole thing really opened up when the kids went to the doctor's office and they found STDs on their rear ends, and they said, why would a 2-year-old have it? They immediately think something might be happening at home. Maybe the parents are doing something. Then the kid starts to talk. Well, they took us underground, and in these tunnels, they find what? Pentagrams and all this other crap. And they talk about rituals involving sacrifice of animals, right? But no, they all made it up. So then they roll Ozzy Osbourne out on national TV to say we're all misunderstood. I just bite heads off of bats and do all this stuff because it's crazy entertainment, right? I don't feel any guilt about leading souls to the devil, and they don't feel any guilt about it. And then they continue to deny it. And people believe it. That's the funny part, how naive people are. Because I've said this before, you ask the Mason will deny it. They all will deny it. What do you expect them to do? Do you expect them to say, yes, we sacrifice humans and eat them and consume them? You think they're really going to do that? Because people are like, oh, you're just saying this stuff. They're not really Satanists. So what do you think? They're going to come out? Oh, no, I am a Satanist. Last week I killed, somebody's aborted baby. Somebody gave me their aborted baby and I ate it for dinner. Of course they're not going to say that. Of course they're going to deny any type of conspiracy revolving around people in your town who join into these Freemason lodges and then get put on your city council, on your school board, and then indoctrinate your kids with satanic poison. These are the people responsible, like Ozzy Osbourne. And I don't feel one drop of sympathy for any of them when they croak, because they're responsible for leading so many more souls than just their own into the pits of hell. So adios, Ozzy. Hopefully it really is kicking of the bucket here and you're not getting some send-off to Israel or somewhere else. But again, if you look at his last concert, and how he was performing, the guy was completely shaken down. Looked like he just, his kuru had hit a peak, kind of like we saw with Hillary Clinton when she was passing out, trying to get into vans and stuff in the past, right? Probably all using doubles now anyway, but Ozzy Osbourne, a life of indoctrinating children into the occult, will not be missed here on earth. And hopefully he's serving out his his eternal sentence in the pits of hell with his friend, Mr. Crowley. I thank everybody for being here. Whew. Needed to rant that out. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.